Welcome to the Women in Blockchain Talks podcast, an educational platform where we focus on bringing you fresh and unique perspectives on the crypto and DLT space. I'm your host, Lavinia, and I'll be speaking to different experts and professionals who will be on hand to pass on their knowledge. If you enjoyed the show, please consider joining our exciting and diverse blockchain community, which is open to all genders. Thank you for listening. Now on to the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another episode of Women in Blockchain Talks. And today I have someone who has been part of my blockchain crypto journey since I started on the scene back in 2019. Well, officially I came into blockchain 2017, but I knew about, blockchain crypto from way before that, but officially I came into the scene in 2017. But since I started my Women in Blockchain Talks journey, this wonderful lady beside me has been a part of the journey. And it's always so nice to see people, on their journey and raising and growing and evolving. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Stephanie Ramezan. Stephanie has been in the blockchain crypto space for the last 3 years, and now she is working with the very, influential, prominent, and quite exciting exchanges out there, Gemini. She is the business development for Gemini Europe, and we have a lot to talk about in this episode, so stay tuned.
Thanks for having me. Really been looking forward to this.
Good. So just tell us a little bit about you and how you found yourself in this space.
Okay. I started my career in traditional financial markets back in 2005, and I started in sales, then went into the trading side of the markets, mostly equity derivatives and Delta One. Back then, there were whispers of the B word being Bitcoin, very convoluted, very few people really understood it. And from around 2011 onwards, there were a few people getting into the space, but it wasn't something that I can honestly say that I, at the beginning, was particularly fascinated or excited by. But as my journey continued through financial services, I moved more into the corporate finance side of the markets, worked a lot with family offices, and I just ended up getting more and more exposure in general to the fintech space, and then quite naturally via the broader fintech space into crypto and blockchain. And my personal journey started in 2017, 2018 approximately, and I was one of the founding members of a digital merchant bank that was established to service corporates in the crypto sector. There can be a big misunderstanding in the space that there are banking issues around the crypto itself, but the issues actually originate from the fact that it's very hard to actually get your fiat currency, your pounds, euros, your dollars in and out of the ecosystem. So I worked with an amazing team to help establish a banking framework. And that company is still going great guns and working very closely with regulators to establish banking presence in the UK and Europe. And at the beginning of 2021, I was put into contact with Gemini, and it was frankly too exciting an opportunity to miss. So I've only been with Gemini since March, but it feels like quite a while. I always say to my friends that crypto years are kind of like dog years, every 7 crypto years is one life cycle in traditional finance of the way things are moving and how fast things move. So it's been a bit of a baptism of fire, but an amazing journey already.
Exciting stuff. And what is it like to work for Gemini? Is it as exciting as you thought it would be, or as one imagines?
Frankly, I mean, I'm very delighted to be able to say that it's actually even more exciting. I mean, you don't really know what faces you when you join any new company, of course, but a lot of people listening may have done, something similar whereby they joined a new company during a global pandemic, which means you start remotely. And so there are concerns, of course, of how you're going to connect with the other humans in your team, whether they be local or international. But it's been fantastic. Gemini are, they're a tech company, so they're very tech enabled in terms of how they've come to onboard new hires, and their hiring has just been astounding. I don't have the exact figures to hand, but I believe we've grown in the last 6 months from around just over 300 employees globally to just under 500 now. So
wow.
To see that kind of growth of 200 people globally across all departments has just been absolutely amazing to watch, and very exciting to be one of those numbers. I guess I should just mention for people who don't know Gemini, who we are and what we actually do. So Gemini was founded actually in 2014 by Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. Many people are familiar with Cameron and Tyler from the movie The Social Network, which
Facebook?
was Facebook, obviously. And, Cameron and Tyler, they bought into Bitcoin quite early, and they realized once they had got into the space that they didn't feel that there was a robust enough platform out there to keep their crypto safe. So like all good entrepreneurs, when they find a problem, they look for a solution. So this is what they've done, and what we're now working to expand. So we're a crypto exchange and also a custodian, and our reach goes far beyond just the sort of day-to-day buying and holding of crypto. We have a range of products catered towards retail and institutional clients, everything from Gemini credit cards in the US to we're currently rolling out different products across derivatives. You may have heard of our acquisition around Nifty Gateway, which is one of the, or if not the leading platform of NFTs. And so it's really interesting to get into the NFT space. Firstly, foremost in the digital art space, but for me personally, I find it incredibly interesting around the future use cases of NFTs beyond the art space. So Gemini Europe is still fairly nascent, but growing very, very rapidly to catch up with the US and Asia, where we have another office as well.
Wow. Amazing. And I know that you've done some very interesting, I'm kind of digressing from what we're going to be talking about, but there's so much to touch on. But I know you've done some interesting projects with NFTs and music recently, didn't you?
Yes, so Nifty Gateway, which is part of the Gemini ecosystem, they are supporting a collaboration which kicked off in France about a month ago, and it was a collaboration between the British rapper Tiny Temper and a French-Iranian artist, and they created the first NFT art residency in the south of France. And we have an upcoming event in London to expose them to another audience within London. We're going to be holding a panel debates at Bonham's Auction House, bringing people from the traditional fine art world together with the digital NFT space. And we're going to be dropping those pieces that were actually created on our platform for auction on that day as well.
Awesome sauce. So, as you stated, Gemini is more established in Asia and in the UK. In the US. And so you've recently, or Gemini's recently moved over to Europe. So the base is where? Is it London, or is it other parts of
So we've
Europe?
got 2 European offices. We've got London and we have Dublin.
Right. Okay. And
with US being HQ.
Right. Okay.
And our Asian office is in Singapore.
So how long have they been established in the US and Asia?
So US was the mothership, so to speak. So that's 2014. Our Singapore office came into play, I guess, around 18 months ago.
Right.
And our UK office was established in September 2020.
Okay. So is the objective to coming to the UK is obviously to look at the European markets, but will it be different products and services offered here than there is to Asia and the US? Because we have different regulations and different structures. So
Indeed,
how does it differentiate?
So there are definitely nuances between our offerings, between the different regions. You're quite right. It's very much down to the regulatory side of things. And we're working very closely with multiple regulators to always be increasing that product offering. So definitely in the US, There are a broader range of services, especially on the retail side, than there are in the UK and Europe right now. We are in the process of working with the Central Bank of Ireland for licensing out there. We're one of the few, I like to say, frankly, chosen ones on the FCA crypto register, which is obviously the UK regulator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we're extremely proud of, and we do not take for granted. We see regulation very much as a gift and something that you have to, at the end of the day, respect in order to grow a business.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me personally, I think it's very interesting to see the evolution of the crypto space.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very strong correlation to, obviously, regulation, because at the end of the day, crypto is a controversial subject.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of irony around the safety of crypto as well. A lot of people will see crypto as something very, very risky for obvious reasons because of volatility. They'll see danger there because of the misuse of the technology, etc. Under the right circumstances, with the right regulation, with the right technology, at the end of the day, crypto is pretty much can be one of the cleanest currencies out there, because actually it's far more traceable than fiat currency.
Yes, that's amazing to say. And just talking about people's hesitation when they look at crypto, it can seem very convoluted, but like you said, it is very clean, but there is a lot of fear around it, and education is very important to demystify that fear. So, I mean, does Gemini offer education to your clients? Is there a lot of education elements here on the UK base or the UK platform? Because I'm assuming they're different platforms, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 different platforms.
Yes and no. I mean, you'll go to Gemini.com, and depending on where you're accessing, that web page from, you may see slight nuances in terms of some of the coins and tokens, etc., that are offered. Some of the products, for example, but we are one company that is a global company with a unified offering, but just with a few nuances between the regions. But no matter where you access Gemini.com from, there is a proprietary page within that website called Cryptopedia, which is a fantastic library of resources. So if you've just got a curiosity around one term that you hear in passing, or you want to, give yourself a full education, that's a great place to start. All of us globally are working with fantastic people internally on the PR and the comms side to make sure that we are attending certain events. And like you say, it's very much about education, and especially from my perspective in Europe, I'm here to help people get comfortable with crypto and blockchain, not necessarily to just start going out on the hard sell, because it is a process and people need to get comfortable, and people can't get comfortable until they fully understand something.
Okay, that's great. And as you know, Women in Blockchain Talks is all about the education, the community, and also promoting opportunities, career opportunities within the space, which I'll touch upon in a moment, because there's a lot to be said on that, particularly with what Gemini are doing. But can you just expand on the custodian element of...
Yeah.
I think I said it wrong, so forgive me. Go ahead.
No worries. You put it right. Custodian. So Gemini is an exchange and a custodian, which means that we give our clients the ability to safely custody their assets within the Gemini ecosystem. And there are a variety of ways out there in the market that people can choose to custody their crypto. You may have, Lavinia, you'll be an expert, but people listening would have heard maybe the terms hot wallet and cold wallet.
Of course.
Hot wallet means that wallet is connected to the internet effectively, in layman's terms. Cold wallet, cold storage means that it's not connected to the internet. So cold storage can be viewed as, or is viewed effectively as a safer option, because obviously you cannot hack something that's not connected to a network. However, it can be quite clumsy and tricky to access your balances. So what Gemini are working on via an acquisition of a company we announced the acquisition a couple of weeks ago, an amazing tech company called Shardex, which is what's known as MPC, multi-party computational technology, which effectively gives our customers at a high level the accessibility and the ease of use of a hot wallet, but with the security of cold storage. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to find out more about Shardex as we continue to integrate them into our offering.
Wow, that does sound amazing. Technology is evolving so quickly, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And talking of that, I mean, you've been in the space 3 years. How is it for you, in your opinion? How has the space changed visually and like structurally, so to speak? Like,
Yeah, I mean, huge evolution in a very, very short space of time. So, I mean, I personally have been attending events and speaking at conferences, since I set out on my journey within the space back in 2017, 2018. And it's been absolutely fascinating to me to see the evolution of the other players that are now getting involved. At a conference I attended back in 2018, it was targeted at the whole financial ecosystem, but it was really very much attended by more the tech and developer side of the business. Naturally, that was much more sort of male dominated. There was not representation from top tier banks or top tier professional services firms, and then really within a space of 12 months, 18 months, I went to the same conference again. And instead of just solely developers on a panel, speaking panel with me, I was joined by very senior people from, the likes of top tier banks in London. We, usual suspects. We don't need to list them all. Plus, Magic Circle law firms, etc. The World Bank, the IMF. So it was just incredible to see that growth. And I guess people who perhaps hadn't necessarily taken it as seriously coming to the table and realizing that, this is no longer a fad or a phase, and not everybody may be comfortable enough yet, but it is something that's here to stay.
yes, it most definitely is. And we've definitely seen that this year. How do you see personally and professionally, because obviously you're in this space, you're working with one of the top exchanges, how do you see this space developing, and particularly into, what do you see as numbers in regards to gender numbers ultimately, with people
Mm.
utilizing, leveraging crypto in their
Yeah,
life, in
yeah.
their finances?
Yes. Well, I mean, the figures are frankly absolutely astounding, both from, the macro markets, if you look at the diversity when it comes to gender diversity, but also I'm very, very proud to say, within Gemini, the kind of initiatives that we have in place to make sure that there is, all sorts of diversity, and especially focused on gender equality is doesn't really even cover it if I tell you that Gemini Europe, we're actually 75 to 80% a female team across
Wow.
Gemini Europe. So I think we've gone above and beyond,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that will continue. And what I love is, for better or worse, there have been roles across the world globally that have always been perhaps more swayed towards men and more swayed towards women. But, especially in financial services, I've always been in male dominated teams. FinTech, traditionally it's the same, etc. But, UK business developments for Europe, within Gemini, we're 2/3 female. Our UK head of compliance is female. Our head of Europe is female. And beyond that, the London team in itself is just so diverse. And I feel so privileged to be part of it. It's really sort of a reflection of what I see of sort of true London, which
Yes.
is fundamentally a mix of cultures and ethnicities. And everybody is from everywhere with the most amazing backgrounds and amazing stories. So Gemini is working very, very hard to make sure that, there is that diversity, and it comes from, our mothership, our HQ in the US, but they get involved in much broader initiatives. They just completed a partnership with an organization called Ladies Get Paid, which I love that title. That's a global network of women who are focused on professional and financial advancement, for example. So lots and lots going on. But I mean, if you look at the crypto sector in general, it really lends itself to having a more female-centric world around it to support it as well. Gemini released a report called State of UK Crypto, and found that more women are investing in digital assets in 2020 than any other asset class. So just to give you a couple of stats, of 13.5% of respondents who are current or previous crypto investors, 41.6% of those were women.
Wow.
And of the 9% who are planning to invest in crypto of the survey, 40% of those are women. Women are also investing at higher levels. So it's, it's a really fantastic place to be.
So what I'm hearing is that crypto, not blockchain per se, but or within the ecosystem of Gemini, it's very diverse and growing.
Yes,
But crypto,
yes.
from your studies, your research is showing that there's a lot more women who are involved in crypto. And why do you think that is? I mean, I have my own ideas, but I'm interviewing you. So why do you think that is?
I think it's a mix of reasons, but I mean, you touched on the fundamental word earlier. I think partly it's, or maybe perhaps more than partly, it's education. Crypto is obviously a relatively new asset class at the end of the day, and that means that there's a huge amount of resources out there for people to refer to, and other studies have shown that women only get involved in a certain investment type when they feel comfortable that they understand something. They're definitely more risk averse than men, and that is just fact that comes from multiple studies. So I'm guessing perhaps it is the fact that the resources are out there for people to go and understand if they want to decode the space themselves. There are some amazing courses out there as well if you want to go and get some qualifications or diversify your career path. I personally took the blockchain strategy program through the Said Business School at Oxford University.
Right.
And that was extremely interesting to me from the broader blockchain space. It was just something I chose to do early on in my journey to give myself a wider lens into the space.
Okay, that's great. So a lot of people will like to know what that. So it was a Syed school at Oxford, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right, yes.
So just want to make sure, because I know people will be like, what was the school that she went to? Where did she study? Okay, for me personally, I think another reason why women are getting more involved is because the barrier to access is so low. When you think about traditional finances and how you have to invest and who you have to go through, what I love about the whole blockchain ethos and premise is the fact that it's supposed to be permissionless, it's trustless, so you don't have to ask permission, and therefore you can come into this space with, because I do know that Gemini have a offer. I see the advert on Twitter all the time, like you could start with £5 or something like that to get started with Gemini or start an account, and it's, most people can afford £5 a week, £5 a month, just to test the waters. So the barriers to access are just so much lower. And of course, we always say, don't risk what you can't afford to lose. But you've been in this space for a while. I've been in this space for a while. I've gained, I've lost, but you do it at your own pace. And you can take your time to learn. There's so much different resources out there, including the platform that Stephanie touched upon. Cryptopedia, is that what it was called, you said, for Gemini?
Cryptopedia, yes.
Right.
That's part of the Gemini website, yes.
So, there's no reason why, if you're listening to this and you haven't started your own crypto journey or crypto investing journey, why you can't start little by little. And that's not me giving you advice. But most people listen to this podcast are researching this space for a reason, So you've heard it from the horse's mouth or from Stephanie's mouth, a representative of Gemini, of how you can get started and how you can start learning as well. So with that being said, let's talk about careers. So you've said that Gemini are very strong with gender diversity. For you in this space, why would you advocate for women to come into this space?
It's a great question. I mean, for me, I can only speak from my own personal experience, and I'm someone who loves to be working on multiple different areas and projects at a time. And whilst I can't vouch to say just work in crypto, work in blockchain, I can only talk to Gemini, but within Gemini, because of all the different avenues we have and the autonomy that Gemini really gives you within a role, for me, that just culminates in an absolutely sort of fantastic day to day. So, as someone within business development, I have to look at the business very holistically of, what do we want to achieve? What is the end goal and how are we going to do that? And, I'm very fortunate that, Gemini is an amazing brand. So part of my work is done for me. It's a lot easier to go and grow a business when you've got something so robust behind you. But, my day to day, it's so diverse in terms of the people I speak to, the people I work with, my business outreach. On any given day, I could be speaking to traditional financial services and institutions, funds, wealth managers, family offices, banks who are looking to get into the space and want to either understand more about crypto, or maybe they want to understand how we differ from our competitors, or what is the overbearing benefit for them to be with Gemini. I'm also working with corporates who are looking to start offering their clients the ability to pay for goods and services in crypto. So becoming crypto enabled. They may be, traditional businesses that have been around for 100 years. They could be a fintech startup. Just yesterday, I had a meeting with an amazing company run by a fantastic lady. The business is a secondary resale platform for luxury goods. So as you can imagine, a lot of their sales are Hermes, Chanel bags, et cetera, by definition. Their client base are very, very heavily female. And we're going to be working together to empower those women to be paying in crypto for their goods if they so wish. So I just, I love the link between us that, she's been empowering women on one hand, and they're sort of cleaning out their wardrobes and, getting paid for these assets, these actually valuable assets that people can have. They don't even realize the value of these assets, and giving them a way in which to access the market fairly in, a democratized way. And, it makes sense for her to also be, offering her clients not only the ability to pay with credit card, but also with crypto if they happen to hold crypto.
Wow.
We're speaking to other corporates, hospitality sector. We have already a partnership in the US with a real estate platform, which allows tenants, both retail and commercial and residential, to be paying their rent in Bitcoin.
Wow.
There's a partnership now with one of the resorts in Las Vegas that's partnering with Gemini. So, the possibilities are frankly endless. And, now with the Nifty platform being part of the ecosystem as well, I could be speaking to people in the art world or auction houses who, again, want to allow their clients to pay in crypto. So you definitely can't get bored. And, that's really, I'd say, for me, what makes this industry so interesting, the diversity even now, the fact that it's so nascent, and to be, part of really a revolution. And, anybody in the crypto space is changing the way that, people view money, how they use money, and fundamentally how the world goes round.
Yeah, I so agree. And just, I hear your passion. I feel your passion, because I do feel the same. And the project with the lady and the handbags, the luxury goods, it sounds super exciting and so different.
The company is called Luxury Promise. I'm sure I'm allowed to give them a shout out, right?
Okay, yeah, the Luxury Promise. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Luxury Promise, luxurypromise.com. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's really interesting. And one of the things, a couple of more questions for you. So one, because they just keep popping in my head. So the first one is, due to COVID, I'm assuming you've been working from home. So have you actually been to the Gemini offices? Have you been able to interact with your colleagues?
So I've been to the office once, but the team got together for the first time as the broader team just last week, and we had a socially distanced lunch outside, abiding by all the rules. But I think, that's again one of the bizarre but fantastic things of starting remotely and everybody working from home. I'm working daily with my colleagues across global business development in the US, both East Coast and West Coast, in Asia, Ireland, in the UK also. And I think given the fact that everybody is at home and behind a screen, it's actually enabled us to feel actually more of a team rather than less. Now, obviously, I haven't had the Gemini experience of starting in an office, but I think, if we were all operating normally and we just had our different regional offices, you would feel, of course, sort of more embedded in that regional team rather than the global team. So I don't necessarily think it's been a bad thing in terms of sort of my first half of the year in joining a new company.
And where is Gemini based? I know it's London, but where in London?
We're in the city.
Oh, okay. Exciting. I love the city. The other question I wanted to ask you, talking of the city, and we touched on regulation. So many people within my community have been directly, indirectly affected by, of course, there's different exchanges, and Binance has been in the news due to their situation. And I know you touched upon regulation and that how you're very honored to be on the FCA's list that has been orientated by the FCA. But even so, just for the everyday Jane, the everyday Joe, what happened to Binance from happening with Gemini? How does the everyday person, particularly the new person who's getting into the crypto space, how can they feel trust towards you? What can you tell them, or what can you show them or give them?
I think a really good way to look at this question is to maybe not just focus on the crypto space and ask anyone what would help them get more comfortable with any company they're getting involved in. And I think that answer is regulation. Gemini have purposely, worked extremely closely with regulators in every region where they are, because we feel that may, it means we may not have grown as quickly as some of our competitors, but we feel that it will create a much sturdier foundation and more robust offering for the future. So that, like I said, there's only a handful of names on that crypto asset register. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, Binance have never been one of them. Mm-hmm. So, if you're looking for any new company, people go by reviews, right? Whether they're looking to buy and sell a property, whether they're looking to go to a restaurant, whether they're, TripAdvisor for holidays. People look to the broader community to help them make decisions. And if there is a regulator involved, not every sector in the world is regulated, but within regulated spaces, if it's traditional financial services, you would never start, taking a loan, or a mortgage out from, say, an unregulated mortgage advisor. Well, some people might for very, narrow reasons, but I would think that most people would be looking to use an established regulated provider of any financial service. And that's basically the same with Gemini. You want to be just looking for the gold standards of regulation, which will then, a byproduct of that would hopefully be security, would be trust, would be service. And that's, certain pillars that we really pride ourselves on within Gemini.
And great communication, I suppose, as well. Customer communication and services.
Indeed. I mean, some of our, peers, competitors, or other people in the ecosystem, they are, hugely tech enabled, just as we are. Mm-hmm. But Gemini have made a choice to almost go backwards in order to come forwards. And we are going back to pretty much old school private banking methods of when it comes to customers. We want to have relationships as, the Gemini team. We want to know our customers, and we want our customers to have relationships internally. We don't want to run everything over an app. We want to be, there are customers of ours that they don't want to be trading on an app by themselves. They would rather pick up the phone to a human being and place an order. And then, my team will act as sales traders, and we will coordinate and execute that trade between our customer and our OTC trading desk.
That's very different. I've not heard of that. You're absolutely right. I didn't know that was offered. Yeah. So I just learned something new.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys who are listening have learned something new. Women in Blockchain Talks podcast with Lavinia Osborne, getting professional and personal in the crypto and DLT space. A quick break to shout out our sponsors, and a massive thank you to our partners April 6th, industry specialists that make moments that matter for brands that shape the future. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Women in Blockchain Talks and our 50,000 women into blockchain. Are you aware of the campaign?
I am. I think it's an amazing initiative, and I hope that I can help you get to that point. I love that there's an initiative where you've actually, held yourself accountable and you've put a number on that. So a lot of initiatives, not just in blockchain, but globally. They say they want to achieve something, but it's not necessarily a tangible result. So I love the fact that you've actually, stuck a number on what you want to achieve.
Well, yeah, we've got a year and a half, 2 years to do it. So let's just see what happens. And I just want women who are not in this space or not in finance or tech, and just, women who've never even heard of blockchain, to listen to this podcast through one way or another, through the campaign, through taking the quiz, and to be like, you know what, this sounds really interesting. And it's something that I really want to get involved, or I want to explore, because it's all about exploration. I mean, if we didn't take the time to explore, we wouldn't be here today, right? You wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I wake up feeling very privileged to be part of this space, and the fact that it's so innovative and so creative, and it really excites me in regards to the possibilities. And I love interviewing women like you, because you're in the mix, and just sharing your presence, your existence with my audience. It just allows them to know what is possible for them as well. And touching on that, because your career has been in finance and business development, fintech or finance and tech obviously is very integral to blockchain. And I have been speaking to a company that is all about it's an executive search for women. It helps women return to work. And their arena is that arena, the same arena that you came from, and helping women. And I was talking to her about blockchain, and I asked her, do you know what blockchain is? And she was like, no. So I explained it to her, and her eyes just glazed over. Well, not glazed over because she was bored, but it was just like a little bit overwhelming.
A lot to process.
Exactly. So
yes.
What advice, and this is what I said to her. I said to her, look, you are in the business of helping women. You talk to the same sort of companies you said you're talking to in regards to Gemini. So the family offices, the, legacy banks, and fintechs, and small startups, financial boutique startups. What advice, and this is what I said to her, look, I know you don't know about this space, but either you can be part of the conversation and add your voice to it, because you are in a position where you have all these ladies with different skill sets, just like you have your skill sets, and it was able to pivot and transfer it into blockchain. So the same can be said with the sort of ladies or the returnees, because I think the returnee market is massive. I think so many times when we think about women and opportunities for women, we're talking graduates and students. And actually, my focus is on women who've taken time off to bring up a family, or who've taken time off to start a business, or taken time off to travel around the world because they just wanted to. Mm-hmm. And so what would you say to a company like that does work with women with that sort of, has that background, career background, and she has a service to this fintech, finance, tech world? What advice would you tell that individual who, what I'm trying to say is that they're in this place where they can be that conduit between those women, those companies, and blockchain? What would you say to that individual or people who run those sort of companies that are advocating for women to come back into the workplace?
I think one of the first fundamental messages, which is gradually getting across, is that, blockchain and Bitcoin are not the same thing. Mm-hmm. Blockchain is an underlying technology, and that is where, for me and a lot of the market, that's where the real excitement and potential of this true revolution is stemming from. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, there are different currencies, but blockchain in itself, there are so many use cases, of which millions of them have not even been invented yet. So often people might shy away or shut down when the conversation gets opened up around this topic, because they think it's all about finance. Or, if they haven't been in money markets, that, they're not going to get a chance to enter. But For me personally, I am extremely optimistic about what blockchain can do for the greater good of this planet. Because, blockchain is just a technology that can be applied to so many different things, whether that is birth records, health records, land registry, that's going to create a very, very different kind of world where if things are so much more accessible and traceable, it really changes how so many different industries actually interact between themselves and between each other. Blockchain for luxury goods is becoming more and more prominent because it's about authentication and authenticity of these things. If you think about, the fine art world, if a piece of art was on blockchain, then that takes so many issues around the questions of provenance out of a piece when it comes to the buying and selling of that item. So, I'm having amazing conversations with, I've got friends and contacts who are in the art world working for the top auction houses, Sotheby's, Bonhams, Christie's, etc. And, apart from the NFT digital art side of things, they're actually looking at blockchain as a much broader use case. Blockchain in philanthropy, I think, again, is an incredible use case of where charities can be more efficient. People are interested in blockchain around philanthropy and charities. They should check out the Giving Block, which is a resource in that space. So it's not about just trading Bitcoin, I think, is the advice that I would give to people who haven't had that career background and have no interest in ever getting into it. Blockchain can be used in the hospitality sectors, the food and beverage sectors. The list is endless.
Definitely it is. Okay, well, thank you so much, Stephanie. There's a lot of meat you gave us and a lot of education around Gemini. And, kudos to Gemini for the workforce and the female empowerment that they are delivering to the world through their workforce. So just to end this, can you just leave us with 3 points or 3 takeaways that you would like to leave with our audience in regards to career, investing, and just blockchain in and of itself? Just three things.
Gosh, okay, on the spot. In terms of career, I would say I've learned the hard way of you really have to do something that makes you happy, that you can really get your teeth into and enjoy. I think living in a city like London, similar places like New York, it's very much seen as a rat race, right? And I know lots of my friends and peers have got into careers or jobs because they thought it was the right thing to do, and they hadn't really given themselves the opportunity to say, does this really interest me, or am I really excited about this? And everybody's different, and I'm very jealous of people who can do an amazing job no matter what they're doing, because that's just the task at hand. But I'm personally someone, if I'm not excited and I don't believe in what I'm doing, then I can't do the job to the best of my ability. So whatever people out there listening, whether they want to look into this as a career opportunity, like I said, it's very, very broad, and there will be something perhaps in that ecosystem that appeals to you. But just because it's new and it's exciting, it isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And people shouldn't feel pressured to think, this is the only future there is in terms of an interesting career. But I do invite anybody to reach out to me who wants to have a general chat about their career growth. I work with a couple of organizations where I'm mentoring young people, both men and women. I want to start doing more work with schools, etc., to help give people more insight into the career. So anyone who would like to reach out, please do. I'm not sure if that was 1 or 3 points, Lavinia, so apologies for that.
That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So
all right.
1 plus a couple of tangents.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, all I would say is, people who are curious about the space, there's so many resources out there, and it's hard to know where to start. It seems like there might be a lot of blockchain 101, and then there are a lot of very, very technical resources out there. And sometimes it's harder to find those resources that are, say, for the in-betweeners who understand the basics, but don't want to go into the real weeds of the technicalities. So I'd say for that, you've got to go to Lavinia Osborne
Women
and
in
Women's
Blockchain
Talks.
Exactly.
She has the resources and the network to help anybody with anything.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much. Much appreciated, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I look forward to your continued growth and your presence in this space. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. So until the next episode, take care. Bye. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to keep up with our updates. If you enjoyed this episode, then please rate, share, and leave a comment. Your support is appreciated. Until next time.